Hi, I'm Rochelle. Welcome to STEMsite's Safety and Bloodborne Pathogens training video. Safety is all of our concern, and we hope that this short video helps outline some of our policies. You can stop, rewind, and replay this training presentation at any time. If you have questions regarding the content, please contact your trainer or STEMsite's compliance department. This training presentation is required to be taken on an annual basis by all employees. Upon completion, you'll be given a link to take a short quiz. So let's begin. How does safety training and safe work practices relate to your job? All STEMsite employees need to understand the risks they may encounter and how to protect themselves and others. Whether you work in the office, in the lab, at the hospital, in the warehouse, or if you drive a vehicle. No matter what your position is at STEMsite, your job can involve exposure to danger, and you need to know how to identify it, avoid it, and protect yourself. First, let's go over what hazard communication is and what types of symbols represent different hazards. The most widely seen and used hazard symbol is the National Fire Protection Association's hazard diamond. The hazard diamond, or fire diamond, has 4 sections. Each section represents a different risk. There are numbers within each section which also indicate the level of risk. The blue section is for health impact. A 0 in this section means there is no health hazard, and a 4 means that a very short exposure could be serious, including death. The red section is for flammability. A 0 here means the material will not burn under typical fire conditions. A 4 indicates the highest degree of flammability. The yellow section is for instability or reactivity. A 0 here means the material is normally stable even under fire exposure conditions. A 4 indicates it's very explosive. Lastly, the white special notice area can contain several symbols. OX stands for oxidizer. A W with a line through it means the material can react dangerously with water. An SA means the material is an asphyxiant gas, meaning it can potentially displace oxygen. Liquid nitrogen is an example. Now, let's take a look at some other warning and caution symbols you may see. An exclamation point on a yellow background is the standard caution symbol. Sometimes it may be accompanied by the word caution, danger, or warning. Here's another example. Biohazard symbols look like these and have a distinctive symbol in the middle. They are on an orange, yellow, or red background. Personal protective equipment must be worn when you encounter these symbols. This is a good example of a danger or warning sign. This one is for liquid nitrogen. If you see these signs or any of the others, make sure you take precautions. Those are just some good examples of hazard communication symbols. In many cases, the symbols are accompanied with messages. Heed all of these cautions to protect yourself. If you have questions about hazard symbols, please notify your supervisor and ask for help. Next, let's talk about blood and body fluid exposure risk and the term bloodborne pathogens. Bloodborne pathogens are disease-carrying microorganisms that live within blood and body fluids. Consequences of contracting a bloodborne pathogen can range from mild to severe or even fatal. Knowing how to keep yourself and others safe is vital. Let's go over some of the most common and serious bloodborne pathogens that you need to be aware of. The hepatitis B virus, otherwise known as HBV, is the most commonly contracted bloodborne pathogen among healthcare workers. The symptoms of HBV can include those usually associated to a mild flu. You may experience nausea, vomiting, fever, stomach or joint pain, loss of appetite, fatigue, and/or yellowing of the eyes or skin. Hepatitis B is so easily spread since it can survive on surfaces at room temperature for several days and in dried blood for up to a week. You will be provided the opportunity to receive the vaccination series for HBV free of charge by STEMsite. Remember that although there is a vaccine, there is no cure. An estimated 35,000 people are infected each year with HIV, but unlike HBV, HIV typically lasts less than 2 hours outside the human body, making exposure risk less frequent. Symptoms of HIV infection can vary, but can include weakness, fever, sore throat, nausea, headaches, diarrhea, a white coating on the tongue, weight loss, and swollen lymph glands. Sharps injuries are a very common source of exposure to blood-borne pathogens for those in healthcare fields. In most work or laboratory situations, transmission can occur through accidental puncture from contaminated needles, broken glass, or other sharps. Always throw used sharps into the proper type of biohazard waste container. The container will be properly labeled with the biohazard symbol, will have a lid, and will be hard-sided. Never reach into the sharps container, since you'll risk puncture and exposure. Sharps are not the only exposure hazard. Exposure can also occur because of insufficient sanitary practices. The good news is, by taking steps to protect yourself, you can reduce many of these risks. When we treat all blood and body fluid as potentially infectious, we call that taking universal precautions. Don't eat, drink, or chew gum where potentially contagious blood-borne pathogens are. This means anywhere where patients are seen, products are processed, or samples are stored. Wash your hands frequently, after handling blood, cleaning areas where body fluids are present, and after using the restroom. Always wash your hands before eating. Don't touch your hands to your eyes, nose, mouth, or other mucous membranes when you're in areas where you could be exposed to blood-borne pathogens. If you're feeling sick, make sure you don't spread your germs and illness to other employees. Call in sick if you need to. If you have an injury or open wound, make sure you take measures to prevent exposure to broken skin or open wounds. Now, Richard will discuss material safety data sheets.
Hi, I'm Richard. I'm going to talk about some other safety information and where to find important facts about materials that may be hazardous. The MSDS contains data sheets with the known documented health effects of various materials we use at STEMsite. If you aren't sure how a particular chemical can affect you or what to do if you are exposed, you should reference the MSDS. For instance, the MSDS may tell you to seek medical attention or to rinse your eyes with water. Taking the appropriate steps can prevent or reduce the severity of a chemical injury. Now let's talk about one hazardous material at STEMsite, liquid nitrogen. As we saw earlier, there are warnings associated with liquid nitrogen, also known as LN2, which is present in large quantities in our facilities. You need to be aware of its dangers. Nitrogen in both liquid and gas form can be dangerous. It can cause severe cold burns and can deplete oxygen levels in the air. STEMsite has oxygen sensors in areas where liquid nitrogen gas can be discharged. If the oxygen level drops to a caution level, an alarm will occur. If you need to handle LN2 tanks, also known as dewars, or the products stored within liquid nitrogen, you should always wear protective thermal gloves and a face shield. You'll also need to have specialized liquid nitrogen safety training in order to handle the tanks or the products stored within them. Remember, never touch the tubing or interior of the liquid nitrogen tanks without your protective thermal gloves and face shield.
Now, let's discuss general office safety. First, let's talk about fire safety. If there's a fire, sound the fire alarm and call 911. Then find the nearest evacuation route. Another thing you'll need to be prepared for is an earthquake. If an earthquake occurs, first move away from any windows and items that could fall on you. Once the shaking stops, evacuate the building. Some other office tips include being aware of any wet areas on the floor. Take care to mark any spills you see that you're not able to clean so that no one gets hurt. For file cabinet safety, here are some tips. Load file cabinets from the bottom. Loading the cabinets from the top first could cause them to tip. Also, never leave an unattended cabinet with an open drawer as it can become a trip hazard. Office ergonomic basics include placing your keyboard so your arms are at a 90-degree resting angle, adjusting your screen so your eye level is even with the top of your screen, making sure your chair is adjusted properly at the right height so your knees are at a 90-degree angle with your feet flat on the floor. Now, let's discuss proper lifting techniques. The blue arrow shows proper technique. Bend at your knees and lift with your legs with the weight next to your body. Beware of overloading electrical outlets, as these can create a fire hazard. Be aware of your surroundings and be on the lookout in case someone hasn't followed safety precautions. Ouch!
Absolutely no running is allowed within the facility.
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm here to talk about accident reporting. Hey, hold on a second. I have to do something for a safety video. So, what should I do if an accident happens? I fell on my keys. If I become injured, I will need to see a doctor and get medical attention, obviously. As soon as possible after the incident, my supervisor will need to complete a safety event/injury report. That form is available in Intellex. My supervisor will need to complete the injury report and will ask me how my accident happened so that other accidents can be prevented. I'll check back in with the doc to make sure I'm cleared to return to work. Once I'm good to go, I'll get a note from him and give it to my supervisor.
This concludes the Facility Safety and Bloodborne Pathogen training presentation. We hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you back here again. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact your supervisor or the compliance department. Don't forget to complete the short quiz to receive credit for this course. The quiz is available through eCourse.